Last week, we learned about the history of Soulcalibur, the rise and fall of the series, and the unfortunate circumstances behind Soulcalibur 6. Regardless though, I am so excited to play Soulcalibur 6. Both Kane and I actually. You guys have no idea, the amount of customization you could do in the game is going to keep Kane playing for hundreds of hours, I'm almost certain. That being said, we didn't delve into any specific lore details, so today I wanted to do the Black Dante's series covering from Soulcalibur 1 to 3, I believe. Because if this is anything like any of the other fighting game series that we've covered, we're gonna have some pretty crazy lore bits, and I'm all for that. But of course, before we get into the reaction, if you haven't already, please check out the original video and give your support. A link to that very top of the description, like always.
Transcending history and the world, a tale of souls and swords, eternally retold.
Such an epic intro. It really sets you up for
Soulcalibur series is one of the most iconic game franchises in existence. Regardless of where it's at now, the mark it's left on the world is undeniable.
Even before I really started playing fighting games, I did know of the name Soulcalibur. I guess I had never really just seen any gameplay of it. I just knew of the name and some of the characters.
However, behind its heart-pounding soundtrack, impressive visuals, and many surprise cameos, lies one of the richest stories ever told through a fighting game. This isn't your average saga of folks throwing hands because of some random tournament. This is a full-blown epic, following a sword that wants nothing but smoke and everyone caught in its chaotic web.
It's such a classic, though, for the fighting game to start off with, this is a fighting tournament, everybody come and fight, and using that fighting energy, we're gonna resurrect an evil god. You could kind of say that's like a poor description of so many different series. So yeah, I'm intrigued to know how different this is from a lot of the other stuff that we learned about, or if there's still gotta be some similarities here in the beginning. You know, you gotta start from somewhere.
And I want to show y'all just how wild this timeline gets. I originally planned on covering everything in one long video essay, but that was before I realized the crap ton of lore we're dealing with. So today we're beginning our dive into this world with the complete story of the first 2 games in the series.
Honestly, I was kind of surprised because I clicked on the video to get ready for this recording, and then it turns out that there was a 2 and then a 3, and they're both about like an hour long. I had originally assumed that this one video covered Soulcalibur 1 to 3, but guess not. Guess there's just so much to talk about.
Folks, I am your humble lore professor, the Black Mastodonchi, and this is the insane origins
that's how you say it.
Of Soulcalibur. Gotcha.
It's always so exciting getting into a new series. So you guys did tell me in the comments that Maximilian uses this in like the intro of his streams, I believe. That's probably where I heard it from.
It all started in the mid-90s. Namco already shook the world with the first Tekken, but they wanted to test out something different. A weapon-based fighting game. It officially dropped in arcades in 1996 under the name Soul Edge. And though it wasn't the first game of its kind, the team who worked on it went hard to make sure it stood out. For one, this was the first motion capture-based video game to use a passive optical system. This method involves special light-reflecting markers attached to the actor's body. The team could then adjust the sensitivity of their cameras to only capture the markers, using them to track the subject's movements. Today, the system is pretty common due to how simple it is compared to other methods. Gameplay-wise, it borrowed a lot from Tekken. However, since it involved weapons, they added more unique features such as a weapon gauge and weapon locks. The former was a meter tied to your weapon's sturdiness. Blocking attacks would deplete it, and once it was gone, the character would lose their weapon and have to fight unarmed for the rest of the round.
Gotcha. As a bit of a way to make sure that you don't turtle, keep things flowy within the game.
Now this sounds like a fire mechanic on paper, but everyone's unarmed moveset was the same, so losing your character's weapon was like losing their essence.
That does throw a wrench into the works. I thought that everybody had like their own unique moveset outside of that, but I guess they couldn't add that much information onto the arcade machine. And it'd be a whole lot of work too. Now I'm thinking about it, does Samurai Showdown also do something similar? Because I know you can lose your weapon, but does every character have like a unique moveset unarmed, or are they just all like universal, just like this? That's another series we're definitely gonna have to learn about. But we haven't got into it yet. We planned to. We're still waiting on a Steam sale, though, on the Samurai Showdown game.
The latter was a rock, paper, scissors-like clash system where each player had to mash a specific attack button to win. Features aside, though, what really set it apart was its focus on world building. Soul Edge was one of the first fighting games to put a strong emphasis on its characters' origins and their reasons for fighting. What made this even cooler was that everyone in the roster shared some kind of connection with the titular sword, Soul Edge. And since the demonic blade was the focal point of the narrative, this allowed all the characters to feel relevant in some way. After it released in arcades, Soul Edge became a hit. It didn't do as well as Tekken, but it was still the 20th highest grossing arcade game in Japan in 1996. And surprisingly, it did even better over here in the States. However, it wasn't perfect. Fans complained about its high difficulty and near unbeatable boss. So a couple of months later, Namco released a more refined version dubbed Soul Edge version 2.
Okay, I'm actually kind of curious. For those of you who do know this, would you say that that first version of Soul Edge, the boss there was tougher than a lot of SNK bosses? What was his name? Rugal? Was the boss there tougher than Rugal?
End of 1996, it was brought to the PlayStation. But when it launched outside of Japan in 1997, it was released as Soul Blade to avoid copyright issues with the UK's Edge magazine. Like its arcade counterpart, the streets loved it. A review from GameFan described it as the most stunning graphical fighting feast ever to grace any console.
Okay. This doesn't have anything to do, really, with Soulcalibur, but, like, why is it that we have to avoid using certain words within our title because of copyright? Like, that Soul Edge sounds pretty cool. I mean, Soulcalibur is kind of based, but it also makes me think of a lot of other things that had to change their title because they had the word Sky within the title. Like, I believe Microsoft had to change SkyDrive to OneDrive because of the Sky TV News Network in the UK. And it just made me think of that because it's also the UK. So it's like, is there some specific copyright law there that allows them to specifically copyright a word? Now literally nobody else can use this one word? It's kind of insane to me.
And homie wasn't lying. It may not look that impressive right now, but in the mid to late 90s, this was clean. Now, usually successes like this would prompt developers to immediately hop on a sequel idea. Gotta strike while the iron's hot, right? But according to an interview in the 55th issue of Retro Gamer with series producer Hiroaki Toriyama, the team approached their next title in a way that heavily builds my respect for them. They took a step back and thoroughly considered how they wanted to continue this series. Quote, "After our work on Soul Edge, we turned our attention toward developing a fighting game that featured normal weapons known the world over, which we moved into quite naturally. From that time on, Namco's beat-em-ups were running along two lines of production, the Tekken line and the Soul Edge line. But we were combining our powers. We had mutual technology and we shared our development know-how. As a result of this mutually beneficial alliance, we were able to produce the greatest weapon-based fighting game in the world."
Oh, damn. Those are some big words, but honestly, you probably have the stuff to back it up. Considering the legacy that Soulcalibur has built, it's also really cool, like we had learned this in the previous video that we watched, that both Tekken and Soulcalibur were developed very closely with each other. And yeah, it makes sense. If you're working on something similar, why not borrow ideas from each other and develop upon them? If it works, don't fix it. And if somebody's doing something right, just take it and make it your own.
They treated this project as a completely new title rather than a Soul Edge 2, so a name change was in order. Thus, Soulcalibur was born. The name was a portmanteau of Soul from Soul Edge and Excalibur, King Arthur's sword. When it comes to the gameplay, fam, these guys went absolutely off. One of the biggest features this game introduced to the series was the 8-way run system. Soul Blade allowed the player to advance, retreat, jump, duck, and sidestep. This system revolutionized that by allowing players to move freely in all directions, adding a whole new layer to footsies. In the Retro Gamer interview,
actually, is it normal to be able to jump in a 3D fighting game? Because from our experience playing Dead or Alive, that wasn't really anything to consider. It was more just the four-way movement. But now you could also jump and move in all different directions. That's going to completely change how you'd approach the game.
Toriyama stated that this came from various trial and error experiments. Namco had a separate project at the prototype stage, which involved running around a field. They thought that was cool, so they added it to Soulcalibur, and it meshed surprisingly well with their established system of vertical and horizontal weapon attacks. What aided this was the game's immaculate animations. Each character's movements were so smooth and expressive. It almost felt like the game served as a showcase of different weapon-based fighting styles. But the team didn't stop flexing
100%.
there. After Soulcalibur was released in arcades in 1998, they immediately got to work on the Dreamcast port. And fam, they went off again. Toriyama stated that they didn't want to...
Once again, whenever I hear about the Dreamcast, it's always about some sort of goated game that was on it. But yeah, it's immediately noticeable, even to somebody like, say, somebody who doesn't really play fighting games too, would probably notice that this game's motions are so damn fluid. For a game from that era, Soulcalibur is just built different.
Cut any corners. Soulcalibur on Dreamcast wasn't just going to be a port, it was going to be a better version of the arcade game. New modes were added such as Team Battle Mode and Survival Mode, and thanks to the console's hardware, they managed to enhance the game's visuals and gameplay even further. What made this even crazier was that their team of 60 to 70 people shrank to around 40 to 50 for this version. On top of that, they only had 7 months to make it. Regardless, the team did the damn thing, and their work more than paid off. When it dropped in 1999, both GameSpot and IGN gave it a 10 out of 10, a perfect score. The next time IGN would give a game that wouldn't be until Grand Theft Auto 4. I rarely ever see popular review sites give fighting games high scores like this, so seeing this for Soulcalibur left me beyond shook.
I mean, you know, they, whatever their opinions are, don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. That being said, the fact that they gave a fighting game of all things a 10 out of 10 is pretty based.
Like, I knew the franchise was a big deal, but I was unaware of how much of a big deal it was. Along with all that, it earned the Best Fighting Game Award at the 1999 E3 Critic Awards and was chosen as the Console Game of the Year during the 3rd Annual Interactive Achievement Awards. As we speak, Soulcalibur is ranked as the 2nd best game of all time on Metacritic, making it the most well-reviewed fighting game on the site. I didn't even know what to say except for sorry. I am sorry, Soulcalibur. I just saw you as another popular fighting game, but I see now that you are much, much more than that. But with the development history out of the way, folks, we have a buttload of lore to cover. This timeline is long, complicated, and you already know I'm going to be talking about every single character because I love playing life on hard mode. So sit back and relax as I spend the next chapter explaining everything that happened before Soul Edge. Now, before we begin, I want to make 3 things clear. 1, the Soulcalibur universe is based on ours. As you'll soon see, many historical events that...
Oh, yeah. One of you guys did suggest that I check out another video, which I do have on my list, about like the historical quote-unquote setting for Soulcalibur, and a lot of the real-world events that are associated with some of the lore there. So yeah, I think I'll check that one out, but probably after I finish these 3 videos.
Actually happened will shape how this world moves. So be prepared for some real-life lore to help tie everything together. 2, to prevent any confusion with the name of the first game and the titular demonic sword, I'll be calling the game Soul Blade from now on. And 3, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of questions about where my info's coming from, so outside of the video games, this is my main source, the New Legends of Project Soul book. It contains a bunch of art, developer interviews, and lore from the series. Much of what I'm about to cover in this chapter is derived from the timeline chart at the beginning of it. Now, let's get to this lore. Like the franchise...
Okay. You know, if I had the disposable income, I'd probably pick up one of these. There are definitely a couple of series that we're covering here on the channel that I want to pick up like a lore book for. Definitely one of them is Arc Knights. I know that they sell it on the store, but I haven't checked it yet. I hope the shipping isn't too much.
This timeline begins with the Soul Edge. Long ago, in a time before recorded history, a nameless blacksmith went off in the forge for absolutely no reason. What he created was a blade like no other. Initially, it seemed like your average two-handed sword. Nothing crazy. However, after being used in countless battles and bathing in the blood of countless victims, it somehow gained sentience and developed a love for violence. Eventually, it acquired the ability to devour the souls of the people it killed. It craved them so much that anyone unlucky enough to wield it was possessed and used as his puppet to collect more. It even learned to read the soul of its user to morph into the weapon that best suited them. Wild ain't even the word. The demonic sword became known as the Soul Edge, and of course, because humanity loves violence, everybody wanted it. So war overtook the land. That is until one man with the soul strong enough to conquer it appeared. Enter Algol, a character who doesn't make his official debut until Soulcalibur 4. With the Soul Edge by his side, he fought to unify the war-torn world. On multiple occasions, it tried to corrupt him to thwart his efforts. But because he was born with, quote, the soul of a king, it failed every time. Dude was just built different.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
exploits earned him the title of Hero King. And soon enough, he ended the wars that plagued the planet. In honor of this achievement, he built a large structure he called the Tower of Glory and enshrined the Soul Edge there. But the piece he fought...
Okay, this is all starting to connect in my head now with a lot of the gameplay stuff that we learned about. The tower, so that's why they had the whole tower thing with Soulcalibur 4, I think.
4 didn't last for long. Of all people, the hero's own son grew jealous of his power. And Soul Edge loves playing on people's negative emotions.
Of course.
So it was like,
yo kid, you really gonna let your dad be the hero? He's old, you're young, so steal me and show him who the real Hero King is.
And the poor idiot did just that.
No!
Once he grabbed the sword, it was over. His soul was taken, and Soul Edge is about to use him to nom on more souls. With no hope of saving him, Algol was forced to do the unthinkable. He killed his own son in the same tower he built for achieving peace. The irony is just wow. But he couldn't stop there. In the biggest dick move imaginable, the sword vanished after the battle. The weapon he brought home basically killed his son and just left to ruin someone else's life. I'm surprised dude didn't crash out.
I mean, even with the soul of a king, you just can't control the sword. So, is it just going to continue to wreak havoc across the land for all eternity? Or can this thing actually be stopped? Can it be destroyed? Can it be, like, sealed away somehow?
Luckily, the skirmish caused a piece of the blade to break off. He knew the part of it that disappeared would find a way to restore itself and return someday. So he took the fragment and hit up his wisest sage. Their plan? Purify the fragment using Algol's heroic soul to make a weapon worthy of combating the Soul Edge. The ritual took place in the Tower
and then that creates, like, what, the Soulcalibur?
of Glory. And it was so powerful that it destroyed the structure. All that was left was the king's lifeless body and a sword resembling the very one they wanted to counter. So they failed. But why? Well, the ritual relied on Algol's soul to be the good that purified the Soul Edge's evil. However, the Hero King was a warrior at heart. He craved power and strived to be the strongest. That wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't righteous either.
Yeah.
Sprinkle that shonen-ass energy with a pinch of vengeance, and you get a sword that's more dangerous than Soul Edge. The sage peeped and quickly realized how bad they screwed up. So he tried a new plan. He gathered 2 sacred artifacts that were considered to be worthy of the gods. Kali Yuga, a red rod capable of absorbing and boosting energy, whether good or evil, and Dvapara Yuga, a blue stone mirror with the power to purify evil. The rod would strengthen the sword while the mirror would keep its violent aura in check. They called this new weapon Soulcalibur. But it still wasn't quite ready yet. It needed to be stronger, so the sage left his most trusted allies to guard it with their lives. They took it into hiding, and over time, it grew into a weapon capable of battling its dark counterpart. Whenever Soul Edge appeared, the Guardians of the Spirit Sword would entrust Soulcalibur to a worthy hero to stop it. However, they had...
So these 2 swords locked in eternal battle with probably a new user in every era. That's really cool. It gets me giddy. This is what I love about like these fantasy stories.
One crucial rule that always had to be followed. Someone could only wield Soulcalibur once. Due to its relation to Soul Edge, giving it a permanent vessel would be pretty dangerous. But sadly, even though Soulcalibur continued to fight the good fight, the Demon Blade's influence remained strong.
That's actually a really good limitation, because I feel like if somebody were to have it for way too long, they would probably just be like the OP character of the series. And maybe that's not a whole lot of fun. I like the idea of like the generational or lineage thing, or pass it on to the next person to become, you know, the hero in that moment. I think that's a pretty cool way of storytelling.
In 3000 BC, a pharaoh who worshipped it caused a catastrophe so disastrous that it was recorded within Egyptian ruins. About 2,000 years later, the cult known as Fegal Sestimus was established. And though they don't seem to care about Soul Edge yet, guess who they praise as their one true savior? The Greek god of war, Ares. Soul Edge was bad enough, This world does not need the menaces of the Greek pantheon, too. The cult referred to him as Palgaia and taught his followers that the cycle of destruction was inevitable. They committed to doing violent acts in order to bring about their god's most destructive event, the Great Cleansing. With that, the cycle of destruction continued with Soul Edge constantly falling into the hands of reckless individuals. Eventually, in about 500 AD, a Saxon king obtained it and started a war probably because the damn sword was hungry. Fortunately, a mysterious woman granted a Breton king 3 sacred artifacts to stop him: Kali Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and Krita Yuga, an alternate name given to Soulcalibur. With them, he managed to defeat the Saxon king, but the treasures went missing afterward. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why they changed Soulcalibur's name to this. I was confused too, but it all makes sense when you look at Hindu cosmology. In it, time is described as continuous cycles of creation and destruction. The term Mahayuga is a unit of time that consists of 4.32 million years, and each Mahayuga is made up of 4 yugas or eras.
Okay, I see. It's not exactly that, but I believe we have the similar concept in here in Thailand. I believe it's called like a Mahakap or something like that. I could be incredibly wrong on that, though. It's been so long since I learned about it. But yeah, it's like a cycle of the universe, essentially. I'm not an expert on the whole mythology side of things, so I don't know the exact timings for it, but I feel like it's probably something similar, definitely based in the same roots.
Different yugas have specific names and progressively get shorter. First, there's a Satya Yuga, or Krita Yuga, the age of perfection and peak righteousness. Then, as time passes and society degenerates, we transition into the Treta Yuga, followed by the Dwapara Yuga, and finally, Kali Yuga, the period where everything ends and a new cycle begins. So, since Soulcalibur is meant to be the symbol of good that destroys Soul Edge, it makes sense that it's given the name of the Flawless period. And since the Sacred Rod is able to absorb and amplify good and bad energy, it makes even more sense that it was given the name of the Peak Degeneracy era. Anyway, let's move on to 800 AD. An elderly man hailing from the Himalayas finds the 3 sacred Yuga treasures. Little is known about him, but it's said that he used to be Algol's rival, so he's seen some shit. He's absorbed enough evil energy to make any normal man go insane. But he somehow found a way to conquer it by fighting evil energy with evil energy. The new Legends of Project Soul book states that he does this by, quote, knowingly tipping the scales of good and evil to the side of evil. Not sure what that means, but go off, sir. This constant internal battle of his body in a stasis-like state, which explains why he's thousands of years old and looks like this. Thanks to all the time he spent on the planet, he mastered countless different martial arts and developed an innate connection with every weapon in existence. Doesn't matter what it is, he's most likely—
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, that's the Edge Master. I'm assuming this is the guy who teaches you how to play the game in the beginning of Soulcalibur 2 or Soulcalibur 1. We had that detail in the previous video we checked out from Swifty.
better at it than you. His expertise in weaponry combined with his impeccable and long fight record earned him the name Edge Master. Like, unless I missed it, his real name is completely unknown. The world only refers to him as Edge Master. After he gathered the 3 artifacts, he hid them in the Ling Shengsu temple deep within China. The monks here trained in their own style of martial arts, and over time, it became tradition for the 3 most worthy of them to be chosen as the inheritors of the artifacts. Once elected, they'd go through special training with Edge Master to properly learn how to use them and prepare for Soul Edge's smoke.
Gotcha.
Also, according to our handy encyclopedia over here, legend has it that these items have wills of their own and will one day try to gather in one place to help a hero fight a great evil. We already knew that with Soulcalibur, but it's interesting to know that the rest of the artifacts have wills of their own too. By the 11th century,
this whole like cycle of good and evil and rising up in order to beat each other is really reminding me of Myth, actually. If you guys don't know about Myth, I did do some videos reacting to Mandalor's coverage of all the Myth games. If you enjoy these kind of concepts, I would highly recommend checking that out if you're not familiar with it.
The remaining guardians of Soulcalibur migrated into the forest. They kept the story of the spirit sword alive, but since it was tucked away somewhere safe, they began searching for their actual purpose in life. Poor guys had one job and don't know what to do with themselves now that it's gone. More centuries go by.
Understandable.
And things remain as calm as they can be, until the Black Death hits in the 1300s.
Bruh.
In real history, this was a bubonic plague pandemic that ravaged much of Eurasia and parts of North Africa in the mid-14th century. With an estimated death toll that surpasses 50 million, it is one of the deadliest pandemics to hit this planet. So in the Soulcal world, you already know Soul Edge was having a feast. From the ashes of this tragedy came countless orphans. They needed money, so many turned to a life of crime. This became the basis for the Bird of Passage organization. And folks, this brings us to our final multi-century time skip, as the next point when things pop off is within the 1500s, when the events of Soul Blade and the majority of the series actually occur. So let's get into the stories of the many characters whose lives were uprooted by this soul-eating sword.
Soulcalibur, Honest Gaming History.
What's going on, fam? Just wanted to pause for this quick intermission, give you guys a little break with the lore. I know we've been going over a lot of stuff, but while I have you here, thank you so much for watching the video, getting this far. You know, I feel like the Mega Man series was like really eye-opening for me as a creator, and going more in that direction with just, you know, going in depth with video game lore has been really fun, and I'm glad to keep doing it on the channel. You know, I'm happy with the direction the channel is going, so.
I mean, hell yeah, dude. If as long as you're happy with what type of content that you're making on YouTube, and it's also doing well for your channel, then yeah, life's good. But also, I kind of understand how he feels, because we had shifted directions as well and got into the video game lore stuff, and I've just been enjoying my time here. And I think a lot of you guys watching have been enjoying it as well, so I'm glad that it worked out for the both of us.
Thank you so much for liking the Mega Man content. And
gotta check out the Mega Man one as well in the future.
Content. Really appreciate it. If you want to support, don't forget to like, share, comment what else you'd like to see me cover in future episodes of Honest Gaming History. Check out my merch, the Kaizen collection on dochiverse.com. And you could also sign up for my guild and join the many dope-ass people who help support this channel with their monthly donations. You also get a bunch of exclusive content, like I've been reading Absolute Batman on there, so if you're a DC fan and want to hear me voice Batman,
gotta learn about DC.
Out. But yeah, that's it. Don't want to hold you guys too long. Let's get back to the lore.
Soulcalibur, Honest Gaming History.
Alright, we're in the 16th century.
Alchemist.
At this point, Soul Edge is basically the One Piece. It's known worldwide, and everyone's trying to get it to be king of the world. Some see it as a weapon of mass destruction that it is. However, there are those who view it as a sword of salvation. With it, they can stop the war.
Oh yeah. Anything that powerful, people are gonna be like, I can use it. I'm not like that other person who got consumed by it. I'll definitely be able to control it. So it makes a lot of sense that people would be searching for it now. Plus, I'm sure a lot of the legends have kind of fallen into obscurity because, well, people don't really want other people to know where it is and what exactly it does. So I'm sure that there's a lot of tall tales going around that it can do magical things. Things that it's really not going to do for you.
Around the planet, just like the Hero King. But we'll get to Soul Edge in a bit. Right now, we're going to talk about the pirate who will become its next owner, Cervantes de Leon. Hailing from Spain, Cervantes was once just a regular guy. His father, Philip de Leon, was a privateer who was straight up sent to steal from unsuspecting sailors for the Spanish king. One day in 1525, he sailed near an English ship with intentions of robbing them, but it ended up being a warship. Dude found out too late and was blown to bits.
Damn.
Cervantes was devastated by this. He thought, damn, if that's what happens when sailors pledge allegiance to Spain, then fuck them. So he becomes a pirate out of spite. On his ship, the Adrian, he spends 1525 terrorizing the Atlantic Ocean. And apparently, according to the new legends of Project Soul, he refined his fighting style thanks to the English explorer Sir Francis Drake. His escapades earned him quite the reputation. Soon enough, the Italian weapons dealer known as Verci hears word about him. Now this guy loves his weapons. Due to his dealings with the Spanish army, they call him the Merchant of Death. Stories about Soul Edge got him interested in adding it to his prestigious collection. So he hires Cervantes to search for it. After years of silence, it finally pops up in 1553. It appears in a secret auction, and surprisingly, no one involved even knows it's Soul Edge. An English dealer with the last name Adams ends up winning it. But unfortunately for him, Cervantes finds out not long after. He's not sure if Mr. Adams has the sword, but the tip said that he had expensive cargo, so at the very least, robbing him could fill his pockets. With that, he attacks the Adams family ship, killing everyone except for Mr. Adams' son, Nathaniel William Adams. We'll get to him in a bit. As for Cervantes, he finds the sword and turns into a soul-seeking puppet. So that sucks for the world. Of course. It also morphs into two short swords to complement his fighting style. So now we have two demonic blades to worry about.
Okay, that was just such a great idea to write the fact that it will morph into the perfect weapon for that user. So now we can come up with a lot of really cool and unique designs depending on who's currently wielding it. And as we talked about before, I think any character designer is going to salivate at the fact that, you know, the character has a weapon that is unique to them. It is just an extension of the character and it can portray so much about them.
He returns to his ship and slaughters his whole crew. Then he goes back to being the menace of the Atlantic. But this time he's after souls rather than booty. Meanwhile, Verci decides to take the Soul Edge search into his own hands, since Cervantes basically went AWOL. In 1554, he initiates an expedition with his right-hand man, Valdo. Now, before—
Oh my god, I was wondering why the guy was blindfolded and gagged and whatnot. That's Valdo. Valdo's just the weirdo character, right, with all the blades? Interesting, so that's how he used to look like. I wonder what happened.
getting into the SoulCal timeline, I expected this dude to be the freakiest freak of all freaks.
Yeah.
My intro to this series was with Soulcalibur 2. I first played it in the early 2000s and I had very little experience with fighting games. So imagine how shook I was when I saw this lethal contortionist gunning at me like,
yeah, what the fuck?
but nah, contrary to my first impression, this man Valdo is actually one of the biggest ride or dies in the franchise. He just gets hit with terrible circumstances.
Damn.
See, while everything was going down, the Italian wars were ravaging Europe. This was a real set of conflicts that took place between 1494 and 1559. It involved many superpowers in Europe, primarily France and Spain, fighting over control of the Italian peninsula. In the Soulcal world, these wars screw over Verci big time. His place is one of the first to get pillaged, so he abandons the Soul Edge expedition to protect what's left of his riches. He takes him to an island off the coast of Sicily, and with the help of Valdo, builds a big-ass moat that'll serve as his tomb and vault. They call it the Money Pit. After Verci's death, Valdo remains as the sole guardian of the place. Also, fun fact, by using a cheat device, you could play as Verci in Soul Blade, but his name was Belti instead. Back to Cervantes, he continues his killing spree until 1558, when he hits a port town in Spain. There, he massacres the place to nom nom on more souls, but then he does something strange. Until this point, Soul Edge was cool with just eating souls, but a wild idea dawned on it. What if it had an offspring? What if it could get Cervantes to give it a baby with this cursed energy running through their veins? So under its influence, the pirate goes to the Blacktail Inn, which is in the town he attacked, and sleeps with the owner's daughter. Fucking
of course he does.
Diabolical.
Right.
After impregnating a complete stranger, he lies low for a bit, and stories about his antics somehow begin to dissipate. Not like he ravaged the Atlantic for years, but this gives us a perfect chance to talk about the rest of the roster from Soul Blade. Let's begin with our boy Nathaniel, or rather Rock. He was given that nickname as a kid because of his unusual strength. After Cervantes killed his family, he washed up on the shore of the New World with amnesia. He learns to live off the land like the Native Americans, but when he attempts to join one of their tribes, they deny him out of fear. For one, at this point in history, Christopher Columbus already discovered this place, and we all know how that went. So seeing another dude from Europe must have been terrifying.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine. I am glad I was not there during those times. That must have sucked immensely.
And two, this man Rock is huge. The folks over here call him the White Giant. Luckily for him, one orphan named Bangu takes a liking to him.
For some reason, this reminds me so much about Vinland Saga. I wonder if there was... Well, we are taking a lot of inspiration from real-world history, so yeah, there's definitely going to be some like crossovers here and there.
They grow close and basically become like father and son. Meanwhile, over in Germany, a father-son relationship is about to break. Meet Siegfried Stauffen, son of Frederick and Margaret Stauffen.
There's Siegfried.
His father was a knight for the Holy Roman Empire, so for the first 15 years of his life, Pops taught him the way of the sword. But war never ends. Frederick eventually rejoins the fight, leaving Siegfried with little to no guidance. So he goes full edgelord and enters a gang, cause why not? He eventually becomes a leader and names it Schwarzwind, which is German for Black Wind. Then they devise the dumbest plan ever. Since multiple wars are going down, there are plenty of soldiers who may have retreated for their safety. But Siegfried and his merry band of fucking psychopaths think the idea of retreating is for cowards. You're pretty much spitting on your nation's pride. So he tells his gang, yo, let's find the closest group of resting soldiers, rob they asses, then kill them. So they do just that.
What the hell, Siegfried?
When Siegfried triumphantly lifts the head of the lead soldier, he peeps is his goddamn dad.
Oh shit! Oh, what the fuck, dude? What? Why would you get it into your head that this is a good idea?
Now, when I first read this, I felt bad for the guy. You know, killing your dad by accident? Crazy! But writing things out always gives you a clearer perspective. And not gonna lie, homie deserved this.
Yeah, He went on a crazy crusade that he created himself to do this, which was completely unnecessary for whatever reason, for pride, in order to, I don't know, be a big boy, be a man. What is the motive here? It's just like, it's a thing of honor. It's for the country. Yeah, sure.
They just saw a group of soldiers, assumed they had abandoned the war, and attacked them. They could have just been recuperating from the smoke. How you gonna talk about upholding national pride, then proceed to kill soldiers who fought for your country? Shit don't make sense. So Siegfried loses it and runs into the forest. Then after hearing rumors about Soul Edge, he convinces himself that it was his father's murderer.
What?
Yeah, our boy's gone. So off to find the Soul Edge he goes.
What? So that's why he goes for the Soul Edge? Because his brain just protects him by saying it's the Soul Edge that did that? Oh my god. So he's gone on this righteous crusade, actual righteous crusade now, because of his mistake. Because of something dumb he decided to do. That is actually a really unique motivation. I really enjoy it from a writing perspective, but man, Siegfried, my guy. It's really hard to empathize with you, man.
Now let's move to Athens to talk about someone with a less depressing backstory. Enter Sophitia Alexandra.
Oh yeah.
She's just a simple girl who prays to the Greek goddess of wisdom Athena and works in her family's bakery. But the Greek god of the forge, Hephaestus, has other plans. One day he hits her up and tells her that Soul Edge is out there and dangerous as shit. Worse yet, as the god of the forge, its existence could ruin his name. So he chooses her to be one of his 24 warriors to destroy it. He selected 24 because there are 24 letters in the Greek alphabet. But get this, he purposely didn't tell any of the chosen about the others because he wanted each one to feel like they were the protagonist. I get what you're trying to do here, Hephaestus, but imagine how much more could have been done.
If everybody worked together. But now I feel like you're going to run into situations where they end up fighting each other because they believe that they're on a righteous path doing a thing and somebody else is acting like them, you know, just to get in their way. Don't think this is the way.
You just had them work together to jump Soul Edge. This thing's been around for thousands of years, and I can tell you right now, none of the chosen have Soulcalibur. So sending these guys off to go toe-to-toe with Soul Edge is pretty much sending them to their deaths. Anyway, Sophitia is confused about the god's request because she's just a baker's daughter. But Hephaestus grants her the powerful Omega Sword and tells her she's got this. So she too goes on a quest to find Soul Edge. Now we can finally move to East Asia, where
that's fucking hilarious. Here's a shield, here's a sword, you got this. Go and defeat Soul Edge. Fuck.
Ton of shit is popping off. Let's start with the introduction of the Manji and Fuma clans. The former is the tribe of ninjas that protect a completely different cursed blade dubbed Meki Maru. The strongest member in its ranks is Yoshimitsu, who doesn't make his official debut until Soulcalibur. The Fuma are also a clan of ninjas. However, they specialize in slaying unearthly creatures like demons, evil spirits, and so on.
Taki?
One day, Toki, the clan's leader, found an orphaned girl and taught her their ways. He named her Taki, and she quickly became a prodigy at mystic and ninja arts. She was also taught how to forge weapons and armor perfect for hunting evil creatures. Eventually, she made her own mystic blade, dubbed Reki Maru. Once she proved her mettle, she was sent on solo missions to slay the many supernatural threats that lurked in Japan. Now let's go back to Toki. Though he and his ninjas fight for a noble cause, he unfortunately suffers from the biggest weakness of all strong leaders like him, that goddamn thirst for strength. He's tempted by the power of Meki Maru and decides the sword should be his. So he hits up Oda Nobunaga, yes, the daimyo Oda Nobunaga, and is like, "Yo, Oda, I don't know if you heard, but those goons over at the Manji clan have Meki Maru. You lying." "Nah, bro, I'm dead ass. And see, me personally? Yeah. I feel like it's a little too much power for one group of people to have. Like, the only person that should have that kind of power is you, the almighty Oda Nobunaga."
Definitely.
I mean, you're not wrong. So here's what I'm thinking. You should hit them up and tell them to work for you, right? Right. And see, you big man Oda, so unless they're stupid, right, they're gonna accept. Then we can take that sword. Aight, but what if they say no? Oh, see, that's the lit part. While this is all going down, I could take some of your boys and mine, and we could sneak over there. Okay. And if they choose to be stupid, // everybody gonna die. Simple. Well, damn. Sounds like a solid plan to me. So in 15...
Word for word, just historically accurate recreation of that.
1874, Oda calls a Manji clan over. But the leader's old, so they send Yoshimitsu instead. After some time, the Manji denies the daimyo's invitation because they would rather stay secluded. So Toki leads a squad to wipe out the whole clan. Then he returns home with Mekimaru. Yeah, Oda was never getting that sword. He has bigger problems though. Yoshimitsu is pissed. In a fit of rage, he attempts to take the guy out, but Oda's army overwhelms him. He escapes, but not before losing one of his arms. However, this injury pales in comparison to the fury he feels over the loss of his family. After hearing rumors about Soul Edge, he goes searching for it to destroy his enemies. Back to Toki.
I see. To find the most powerful weapon in the world to defeat all of those who wronged your family. That is pretty solid reason to go for it.
Mekimaru drives the dude insane, and he starts ruling the clan through fear. His old rival, Hachibe, notices the shift, so he steals the blade and runs away with his daughter, Chie. This infuriates the clan leader. He declares that they are now rogue ninja, and sends Taki along with many of his followers to find them. But Taki also senses the shift in Toki's demeanor. Plus, Chie is her childhood friend, so she's more interested in getting some answers from Hachibe than bringing them back to die.
Yeah.
Now let's take a little sidestep
That's
from
fair.
the main plot to talk about the last Japanese character from the Soul Blade roster, the samurai Heishiro Mitsurugi. Born in 1561 to a farmer and his wife in Baizen, his daily farm work blessed him with a strong-ass body. By the age of 14, his parents unfortunately died. However, this gave him the motivation to leave the farm and pursue the path of the warrior. He teaches himself how to use a sword by copying the moves of other samurai. Then a year later, he joins the feudal lord Urakami's band of mercenaries. This is when he first introduces himself as Mitsurugi. The kid
I see. I think I actually recognize that guy. He might be the one that teaches you all like the basics in the Soulcalibur 2 tutorial, actually. Mitsurugi just sounds so familiar.
turns out to be an absolute demon on the battlefield. But by the time he turns 16, he gets bored and leaves Urakami to fight in other battles.
Oh, fair.
Multiple lords try to recruit him, but our boy denies all of them because what he's looking for is a true challenge. A year later, one presents itself, but it's not the kind
Soulcalibur?
he expected. See, in 1575, Oda Nobunaga and his
Soul
ally,
Edge.
Tokugawa Ieyasu, decimated the Takeda clan in a conflict known as the Battle of Nagashino. This actually happened, by the way. One of the reasons why this battle was a big deal was because Oda utilized the power of the Tanegashima to secure his victory. For those unaware, this was one of the first firearms introduced to Japan. It also happens to be the name of one of the country's islands. Mitsurugi hears stories about this and is like, yo, that's cheating! So he goes looking for Soul Edge to defeat the mighty gun. Now,
Oh, okay. That's really cool. I love the real world historical tie-ins as well. Like, how do we reimagine this particular event that happened in a way that fits into the world of Soul Edge and use that as one of our characters' motivations? And it feels so real within the fictional world setting.
let's move to the Ming Empire, the last imperial dynasty of China. The year is 1578, and the place is having trouble dealing with Japanese pirates. Upon hearing rumors about the Sword of Salvation, aka Soul Edge, being in Japan, the Wanli Emperor sends the bladed nunchuck master, Li Long, to find it and assassinate the leaders of the raiders. We're gonna come back to Li Long, but we gotta make a quick stop in Korea to introduce the final two characters, Sung
Okay.
Mina and Hwang Song-young. Sung Mina is the daughter of Sung Han Myung, a talented martial arts master in charge of the Song Do Jang. There he trains multiple young hopefuls wishing to become protectors of their homeland. The girl grew to love weapons and became skilled at a bunch of them. She even outmatched her father when it came to the Waldo. However, he didn't want her to become a warrior. He would rather she settle down and get married, preferably with his best
A
student,
classic.
Hwang Song-young. Little did he know that she was already married to the smoke. Soon enough, Japanese raiders become a problem for Korea too. So a coast guard is formed and led by Naval Admiral Yi Sun-sen. By the way, this guy was a real person who actually did secure multiple victories against Japanese invaders. Sung Mina
Cool.
tries to join the army, but she gets denied because she's a girl. And, well, we're in the 16th century.
Yeah.
But after overhearing a conversation with Hwang and her dad about Soul Edge, she decides she'll prove her worth by just finding it herself. So she packs her
No.
things and leaves. Meanwhile, Hwang is sent on a special mission by Yi Sun-sen to find it too. With that, we have all our pieces for the puzzle that is Soul Blade.
Okay, gotcha. For Samina, I can understand the motivation there, but it definitely comes from not knowing what Soul Edge is or does to a person. But yeah, I can certainly see that going out on the journey there, that being a Kickstarter, it's a pretty strong motivation.
Now let's start putting shit together. Remember Li Long's assassination / Soul Edge retrieval mission? Well, he doesn't really care about the sword. When he hits Japan, he puts all of his focus on the assassination part. But the guy gets a little too ahead of himself and assumes he can take down some feudal lords on the way. He ends up getting his ass beat and retreats to the same place where Hachibe and Chie have been hiding. There, Chie takes care of his wounds, and the two fall in love. Taki finds this place too, but she waits for Li Long to leave before confronting the former Fuma members. Upon seeing her, Hachibe is surprised at first, but relieved when she only asked for the sword he stole. He warns her that Mekimaru has corrupted Toki, so she takes the cursed blade and hides it somewhere else. When she returns home, she lies and tells Toki that Chie's lover took the sword and killed them both. Now, as messed up as this sounds, I get why she did this. From her perspective, Li Long was just some random dude. But thanks to her, Toki decides to send Fuma ninjas after him. So if he dies, his blood is gonna be on her hand.
Yeah, I get the reasoning behind it as well. It's just but the poor guy is just acting as the scapegoat in this instance, so that she and her father can basically live their life out in relative peace, as long as they don't get found. Which for Taki, I'd assume is the important part here, because, you know, that's her friend.
However, Taki's journey doesn't stop here. After hearing rumors about Soul Edge, she presumes that it's the source of all the evil, so she heads back out to find and destroy it.
Okay. A fair enough assumption. To be honest, that is true. It is the source of many, many evils.
Eventually, one of the other Fuma ninjas encounters Hachibe and Chie and attacks the two.
Oh shit.
Li Long returns to find Hachibe severely wounded and Chie dead. She's not really dead though. Fueled by vengeance, Li Long goes looking for the person who did this. Folks who witnessed the fight tell him they think the attacker was a wandering swordsman Mitsurugi, so he becomes his target.
Bruh.
But in the middle of his search, he hears that the man is looking for Soul Edge, so the sword becomes his target. Because if he gets to it first, the samurai will have no choice but to come to him. And guess what? He actually finds it. He pulls up to Spain and confronts Cervantes, but he gets bodied again. He falls into a pool of his own blood, calling out Chie's name. And in that exact moment, she wakes up in a monastery in Honshu. She hears word about what Li Long was up to and waits for him to return to her. Also, it turns out that she's pregnant with this kid. Meanwhile, in the money pit, Baldo is still here guarding the place. But his years spent in solitude drove him mad. Those who tried to steal from the stash spread legends of him, the unstoppable ghost guardian. But soon enough, the man hears the voice of his dead master urging him to find Soul Edge. So for the first time in a long time, he leaves to join the Soul Edge hunt.
So, is the way that he looks, the way that he fights, and all the blades and stuff, because he lost his marbles, essentially, being down here too long? It's really commendable how loyal he is, but damn, dude, why did you put yourself through this?
Now, we are finally in 1583, the actual year in which Soul Blade takes place. I don't know where we're at in the video, but the fact that it took this long to get to the first game in the series is
That's
crazy.
pretty cool.
Now, out of all the
got a lot
characters
of
we
lore
went
to set
over,
up.
the one who gets to Cervantes next is fucking Sophitia. She doesn't
Of
beat
course.
the pirate, but she manages to shatter one of the swords. The
Cool.
protection of Hephaestus must have went crazy, because don't forget, she has like no fighting experience.
Yeah, she's the daughter of a baker, right? Take this sword, you got this.
However, shattering the blade severely wounds her, as some of the shards enter her body. Cervantes uses the chance to prepare his final blow, which wouldn't have happened if Hephaestus just sent all 24 of his chosen ones, but I digress. Out of nowhere, another heroine pulls up. Our favorite ninja Taki.
Hey.
Before the pirate strikes Sophitia down, she challenges him to a duel. And though the battle is tough, she manages to beat him with her trusty Rekimaru. So as you can see, Taki was the realest since the first game of the series.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, she is a character like I'm super interested in playing because I just really like her design. I think she's super cool. But she also seems to be like the super short range rushdown character, and I don't know if I'm good enough to do that in a game that I don't really know how to play. We'll see. We'll see when I stream the game. Honestly though, I'm not surprised that Taki won. I feel like her background of having fought like straight up evil spirits and stuff like that probably prepared her a lot more than some of our other contestants here for the Soul Edge, and how to deal with that.
Once he's down, she takes Sophitia's wounded body and carries her away to help her heal. Which is nice, but there is one big problem. Soul Edge is still alive. We already know breaking it doesn't do shit, and Sophitia only shattered one of them. All it needs is some unlucky bastard to come through and pick it up. And unfortunately, that happens merely a couple of seconds later when Siegfried enters the scene. Remember, he's so messed up in the head that he thinks someone else killed his dad. Soul Edge senses his negative emotions and is like,
Yo, Siggy, I hear your dad's dead, and I'm so sorry for your loss, but what if I told you that I could revive him? I just need a few souls, just a couple of souls to fill me up.
This is enough for Siegfried to reach for the blade. But first, he must prove himself by battling Inferno, the evil spirit within Soul Edge. Siegfried comes out on top at the cost of his Zweihander, which under normal circumstances would be good news. However, once he grabs a sword, one of the most devastating events in this timeline occurs. The Evil Seed Catastrophe.
Now it's just merged with you now. Literally consuming you.
The blade corrupts the night, officially giving birth to Nightmare.
No.
In the process, something known as the Evil Seed erupts from his body. It releases a wave of dark energy that travels across the world. And in the next chapter, we'll go into how this wave brings absolute chaos to the land. Okay, we're out of Soul Blade and getting into Soulcalibur territory. So let's begin by introducing all the newcomers. And to do that, we've got to go back to the Lingshan Su Temple. Before the events of the first game, this place was home to two exceptionally strong warriors, Chai Xiangfei and Kang Xiuqiang. The former comes from a family that takes immense pride in its strength. She studied the art of the sword within the temple, and was so good, she should have inherited the Krita Yuga. However, she was a woman, and once again, this is the 16th century.
Of course.
The temple is where she met Xiuqiang, who at the time was in the running to be the successor of the Kali Yuga. However, that got ruined when the two fell in love, which is forbidden. Worse yet, they had a whole child, which is even more forbidden. Her name was Jianglen. Once the monks found out, they drove the two apart and took their kid. Poor Xiangfei couldn't deal with that, so in 1569, she left while she was pregnant with their second kid. Then Xiuqiang did something that may seem wild now, but low-key saves the world later. He stole Krita Yuga and secretly gave it to Xiangfei as a proof of his love. With it, she returned to her family and became a soldier for the Ming Empire. Eventually, she gave birth to her second daughter, whom she named Xianghua. Like her mother, she'd become a goddamn legend with the sword. But sadly, her mom passed when she was still young. She left her the Krita Yuga and told her to use the sword to carve out her own destiny. And just in case you guys didn't make the connection already, since Soulcalibur came from Soul Edge, it also has the ability to read its user's soul and then morph into the weapon that best suits them. So as Xianghua is carrying it, nobody even realizes it's the spirit sword. As for Xiuqiang, the temple traced the disappearance of Krita Yuga back to him, so they kicked him out. Before Xiangfei died, he tried to reunite with her and their daughter. However, her family told him that she assumed he was still training hard at the temple. If she saw him like this, she'd just be disappointed. So he left. Back at the temple, Xianglen was being raised with an orphan child whom the monks had adopted, named Keelik. She was like an older sister to him. Over the years spent here, she mastered the sword, while Keelik mastered the rod. He grew to be a kind and compassionate expert in his craft, and eventually became the successor of the Kali Yuga. Xianglen became the successor of the Dvapara Yuga.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I had recognized the Kali Yuga, the staff here, during like the cinematics for Soulcalibur.
Confused, Keelik asked her why she didn't get the Krita Yuga. So she told him how her father stole the sword over 10 years ago. She discovered this when she was young, but learned that the temple had kept the theft a secret to maintain morale. Before they're able to discuss things more though, the Evil Seed Catastrophe happens. The two sense the wave of evil energy coming their way and grab their artifacts in preparation, but this does nothing. Everyone but Xianglen goes berserk. The only reason why she's safe is because her legendary mirror purifies evil. However, she can't bear to watch her brother mindlessly kill everyone here. So she gives him the mirror to snap him out of his rage. But in the process, she goes berserk. Now Keelik is forced to fight off the family he made here. Once he manages to escape the carnage, he's stopped by none other than his older sister. Even with the Kali Yuga in his hands, she's too powerful for him. So he locks the fuck in and basically goes Ultra Instinct to fight her off. Once he comes to, the first thing he sees is the staff impaling the heart of Xianglen. Similar to our boy Siggy, he completely breaks down. This is when Edgemaster finally returns to the plot. He finds Keelik lying unconscious and takes him home after burning the temple to the ground.
Oh damn, so Keelik learns directly from Edgemaster? I mean, hey, it's a bit of a tragedy, but things are looking up.
Days later, Keelik wakes up to find that his wounds have been treated. Edgemaster then introduces himself as the advisor of the Lingshan Su Temple. But our boy couldn't care less. Xianglen sacrificed herself so he could survive. Why should he keep going when he murdered her and many of his fellow monks? Edgemaster uses this moment to tell him about the evil seed and how Soul Edge is the reason for all this. However, in his current state, he's way too unstable. The ancient mirror is the only thing keeping the evil energy at bay. Separating from either of the Yuga treasures could lead to disaster. With eyes shining with wisdom, he tells the young warrior that he must live as he once did. Kilik then decides to train under him to learn how to control the evil within him and master the Kali Yuga. Meanwhile, in London, another warrior is plotting against Soul Edge, Isabella Valentine, otherwise known as Ivy. Originally an orphan, she was adopted by the Valentines, the richest family in London. However, her father grew obsessed with Soul Edge, so much so that he took up alchemy. His madness threw the family into despair, and eventually, both Isabella's parents died. The last thing her mother told her was that they were not her real parents. Pretty crazy thing to tell your kid before you die, but
Right.
While going through her parents' things, Isabella found out about Soul Edge. Then after conducting further research, she discovered its sinister origins and vowed to destroy it for the sake of her family. But to do this, she needed a weapon. Over the next few years, she followed in her father's footsteps and mastered alchemy. Inspired by an Asian multi-segmented whip, she forged a sword that could morph into a chain. She called it...
I mean, the whip blade is such a cool weapon. Kind of impractical, but man, it's such a cool concept that if a game has a whip blade in it, I definitely at least want to try it out.
the Ivy Blade. But that wasn't enough. It needed to be alive. She desperately tried everything to enchant it, even used her own blood. When everything failed, she pivoted to ancient sorcery, which usually backfires in the worst way, so maybe don't. This strategy hits her with even more failures. But one night, she manages to summon a malformed arm. Sensing her connection to her sword, it fuses with it. Then a voice without sound states,
I, Cross of the Pledge, shall confer unto thee the point in the escutcheon of destruction. Dexter, Purpure.
What are you
and
talking
if
about?
anyone knows what the hell this means, please let me know. I don't know what the hell this arm is talking about.
No
I believe
idea.
Dexter Purpure becomes Ivy's code name later. However, outside of that, I'm completely lost. Anyway, she now
Weird. Okay. Well, we were doing some weird ass rituals and we summoned some weird thing that then possessed our sword, so I guess success, but I also don't really know if this is a good idea and if this is going to lead to a positive outcome in the long run. Ivy's a lot more crazy than I thought.
has the weapon she needs. So with vengeance fueling her and her mind a little cracked from the ritual, she goes after Soul Edge. Now before we leave England, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one last character, Arthur. In the arcade version of Soulcalibur, he served as the replacement for Mitsurugi in countries that discourage samurai imagery, like Korea. Something similar happened in the last game. Hwang originally doubled as Mitsurugi's replacement in the Korean port. However, even though Arthur is just a blonde copy of Mitsurugi, he still has lore. And he also appears in later games, so we gotta talk about him. As a child, he used to beg for money on the streets of Southampton. By the age of 8, he started working on ships to make some real money. One voyage he was a part of brought him to Japan, where a merchant adopted him. The man taught him the ways of his people, and soon enough, Arthur was well versed in Japanese culture. He even forgot how to speak his native language. However, as a foreigner, he had a target on his back. So he learned how to protect himself with a katana. Eventually, he found love and had a child, but the people of Japan still looked down on him. So one day, he decides to go find Soul Edge to prove himself to everyone here. Someone needs to tell these guys that unless you have the soul of a king, you are not doing what you want with Soul Edge.
I don't think anybody understands what Soul Edge truly is. They just hear power and they're like, ooh, ah.
Too many people are trying to retrieve this sword like it's some regular thing, but not enough are discussing the possession part. Now let's talk about Figo Sestimus, the cult that worships Ares. See, Soul Edge garnered such a reputation that even the god of war wanted it. In 1583, he orders the grand priest of the cult, Kunpetku, to seek it out.
Okay, if the Soul Edge gets into the hand of the god of war, I think we're in for a very, very bad time.
Man ain't got hands like that, so instead he summons a golem blessed by the divine power of Ares. He names him Astaroth. He sends him off to find the blade, but he doesn't stop there. While working on Astaroth, this madman also started kidnapping warriors to turn them into lizard men. I don't know why it's lizard men exactly, but it's still fucked up.
We were showing an image of like a serpent body with like a lizard head. So is that supposed to be the representation of the god of war, or a completely different thing? Maybe that's just something in their temple. But hey, it gives us Lizardmen in the Soulcalibur series, so I'm happy with it.
One of his victims was a man named Aeon Kalkos. And folks, this dude is basically Kratos. He was once a skilled warrior from Sparta, but then everything changed when Hephaestus chose him as one of his 24 warriors to destroy Soul Edge.
Oh, goodness.
Unlike Sophitia, he never found it. Instead, he got lost in a sandstorm, questioned why the gods abandoned him, then woke up in some village later. And before he got the chance to return to his search, the evil seed catastrophe happened. Hephaestus must have done his blessing wrong, because this man was getting pummeled by elves.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of favoritism towards Sophitia here. You gave her a weapon, and you sent her out on a quest with your protection. This man was just abandoned in the middle of a desert. What happened, bro?
Evil energy pushed him to go berserk and kill the whole village that saved him. Konpetsku heard rumors about this event and is impressed by the man's strength, so he kidnaps him and turns him into a lizard man with no memory of his past. The game actually refers to him as just Lizard Man, but to keep things simple, we'll just keep calling him by his real name. As for the last newcomer, folks, I saved the best for last. It's the nunchuck master himself, Maxi. This is hands down my favorite character in the series. Not because of his backstory or anything like that, it's just his aura. First off, peep the fit. The top, clean. The pants, pristine. The hair? Some other compliment that ends in "een." And don't even get me started on the Bruce Lee fit. 2, peep the stance, bro. In almost all of Maxi's character art, he makes it his mission to be the coolest dude in the room. And 3, in a game full of fighters with big-ass swords, living blades, and shit like that, this man pulls up with nothing but his nunchucks and badass energy. I don't even think I cared about nunchucks till I played as him in Soulcalibur 2. Think about that. If I never played Maxi, Mikey wouldn't be my favorite Ninja Turtle.
You know, it's always awesome when a character that you find in a game just connects with you to that sort of level. Something that you thought you never would have enjoyed, and yet it just feels right. Like it should have been this way the whole time. It's so fun to see.
Crazy, bro. Crazy. Anyway, Maxi is from Japan. He used to sail the seas with his father when he was a child. Sometime after the Evil Seed incident, they actually run into Li Long. However, he now goes by Zhang Wu, the name of his old rival, since Fumon ninjas are still after him. Noticing his bladed nunchucks, Maxi challenges him to a duel and loses. But he feels enlightened, so he invites him to travel with them, allowing him to study his style along the way. Eventually, Li Long leaves the crew, and unfortunately, Maxi's father passes. Now Maxi runs the ship with his sworn brother Kiam and their crew. But we'll get back to them later. For now, let's go to the other characters to see what they're up to. After the Evil Seed catastrophe, the birth of Nightmare revived Cervantes. Some of Soul Edge's shards were lodged inside of him thanks to Sophitia. Nightmare's rise gave them enough power to bring him back. However, now he's just a husk of himself with no memories of his past. So he wanders the world until his memories come back to him. As for Nightmare, he goes on a rampage across all of Europe, leaving nothing but death and destruction. Then in 1585, Astaroth, Aeon, and Isabella join his ranks under the new team Schwarzstorm, which is German for Black Storm. The first two joined because Soul Edge is still weak from his battle with Sophitia, Taki, and technically Siegfried. They plan to help get it back into shape with more souls, then steal it. However, Ivy isn't even aware that Nightmare has a demonic sword. She just recognized that it was his arm that gave her Ivy Blade power, so following him is kind of like destiny for her.
I see, question mark. But you know, if I saw Nightmare and I looked at that sword, I would think immediately demonic sword. That may be the demonic sword I'm looking for to destroy, but sure.
When in reality, she's being played. Wild how she saw this guy carrying this big-ass blade with
exactly! Thank you!
Veins and an eyeball, and didn't immediately assume it was Soul Edge.
Right?
Anyway, after Taki and Sophitia left Spain, they stopped in Athens. There, Sophitia's sister, Cassandra, watches in horror as Taki takes the Soul Edge shards out of Sophitia. Once everything looks good, she leaves them. Later, Sophitia falls unconscious in the market and then hears a voice telling her about everyone dying because of Soul Edge. Sounds like a problem she should handle ASAP. But she ain't got time for that right now because the blacksmith Rothian is kind enough to carry her back home. And she thinks he's cute. They fall in love.
ain't got time for that. It's how to love someone. Fair enough.
In like no time, then head to the Temple of Hephaestus to report that they're getting engaged. But the god is like,
Fuck your marriage. Did you not get my message about Soul Edge killing people again?
Right.
Worried for his fiancée, Rothian asks to go in her place. But he ain't one of God's warriors, so to make him useful, Hephaestus gives him some blessed iron so he can craft the perfect equipment for Sophitia. Once it's done, our girl sets off to save the day once more. As for Taki, she returns home.
Okay, to be fair to Sophitia, she didn't ask for any of this. she just probably wanted to live out a life, a good life, being a baker's daughter. But now she's gotta go save the world.
Home with Soul Edge shards. She tries to fuse them with Rekimaru to give her blade more power, but that fails. So instead, her crazy ass decides to fuse them with Mekimaru, and it works.
Oh shit.
But the evil energy emitting from it is way too strong now. She tries her best to dampen it, but that does nothing. Soon enough, she's found by the Fuma ninja Geki. She's too weak from holding Mekimaru back, so he easily swipes the sword from her, saying it belongs to Toki. But the idiot has no idea what he's messing with. Against Taki's warnings, he draws the cursed ninjato. The power released is so immense that his arm blows the fuck up. So Taki uses this chance to grab the sword and dip. As she rests, she hears rumors about Nightmare and his path of destruction. She surmises that fighting Soul Edge with Mekimaru can offset their evil energy. So she officially
I guess we're going with the whole evil fighting evil thing that the Edgemaster was doing.
becomes a rogue ninja to seek out the demonic blade again. Now let's talk about the Korean warriors Hwang and Seongmina. These two actually had to stop their first hunt for Soul Edge prematurely. Back in 1582, Oda Nobunaga was betrayed by his own subordinate, Akechi Mitsuhide. This led to his death, but it was soon avenged by Toyotomi Hideyoshi. After hearing rumors about Soul Edge being in the Ming Empire, the Lord planned an invasion of the place through the Korean peninsula. So they basically became Korea's problem. And before you ask, yes, this is based on actual history as well. However, in our world, Hideyoshi's invasion was more an effort to conquer the Ming Empire, not to find some soul-eating sword. The first invasion of Korea took place in—
I mean, to find the soul-eating sword would have been a cooler reason? Just saying.
in 1592. When Hwang got word of this, he quickly returned home and brought Seongmina with him. Once back, he rejoins the coastal defense force under Yi Sin-sin. But Seongmina still doesn't get to join even though she's itching for the smoke. Instead, she goes right back to being hit on by these annoying-ass men. And her father's making it worse by constantly looking for a husband for her. So, she leaves again in search of Soul Edge. On her travels, she surprisingly confronts Ivy, but she gets her ass beat. However, the fight impresses Xiu Qiang, the father of Xianghua. I have no idea why he's here, but it's a good thing he is.
I was not expecting him here at all, not gonna lie. He just randomly popped up again, okay.
He decides to train Seongmina so she's prepared to face Soul Edge. And don't forget, he may have left the temple, but Xiu Qiang was still in the running to earn Kali Yuga. So Seongmina is being trained by a master right now. Meanwhile, back in Korea, Hwang is frustrated as hell because their enemies are fighting like a bunch of cowards, and Seongmina went missing again. Out of anger, he makes a dumbass move and chases after a raider ship. This leads to a bunch of his men dying. So, he gets demoted. I feel like that's grounds to straight up get kicked off the force, but that's just me.
If you have connections, I guess. But yeah, I do agree. Getting a bunch of your men killed over no good reason, probably not a good look. And who would listen to your orders after that?
The Admiral puts him back on the Soul Edge hunt and secretly tells him to find Seongmina since her disappearance got him so strung up. And interestingly enough, at some point in 1583, he faces off against Mitsurugi on the Silk Road. The battle ends in a draw, but you're probably wondering why Mitsurugi is even here. Shouldn't he be looking for Soul Edge? Well, that's because he spent most of his Soul Edge search in Japan, even though it was in Spain. Whatever rumor the Ming Emperor heard must have gotten to him. He doesn't leave the place until 1583, you know, when the events of Soul Blade happen.
I see, so he just wasn't updated on the news. But I suppose that's fair, it's the 1500s, it's not like he can just Google search it. Like, where is the Soul Edge?
However, after fighting Hwang, he gets lost and frustrated. So he decides to return to Japan to face the power of the rifle anyway. He'll just beat it using pure grit. And fun fact, they actually made a minigame out of this part in Soul Blade. As Mitsurugi, you have to face the gun in first person. Sadly, plot armor doesn't come to his rescue, and he takes a bullet to the chest. Regardless, after hearing rumors about Nightmare, he returns to his search for Soul Edge. Now let's go back to the New World to talk about someone who's been quiet for a while, Rock. While raising Bangu, memories of his past slowly came back to him, but they weren't clear. So of course he went looking for the Soul Edge. His quest leads him to a confrontation with Sophitia, who's trying to purge the land of evil on her way to Nightmare. But while they fight, she realizes that he's holding back. She asks if he's doing this to protect someone, and in that moment, he thinks about Bangu. Committing to this mission will leave the orphan alone to raise himself. He can't do that, so he abandons his quest to go back home. But
oh my god, he's actually going back to be a responsible father? That's insane, that doesn't happen in fiction. Or in real life.
It doesn't matter because once he reunites with the kid, an army of lizard men led by Aeon kidnaps him for Kunpetsku. Not sure why he wanted the kid, but either way, Rock leaves the New World again to look for him. Somewhere else in Europe, Voldo returns to the money pit after failing to find Soulage the first time. But while he was gone, a storm flooded the place. And to make things worse, Ivy pulls up to try to rob him. Voldo fights her off, but after she escapes, the voice of Verci tells him that the lady smells like Soulage. So Voldo leaves the vault once again to find.
Wait, how does the soul of the dude know what she smells like?
I can't help but feel bad for this dude, y'all. Like, he lost his mind, and now he's being haunted by the ghost of his boss. He'll probably never get true rest until he dies.
Yeah, Voldo just seems like the funny, weird character, but what he said at the beginning of the video is true. This man just has a tragic backstory, like nothing was really going right for him.
However, now that we've covered what everyone's up to, let's move to 1586, the year when Soulcalibur actually takes place. Keelik's training with Edgemaster is over, and he now has a better hold on the evil energy within him. So he's sent on one final trial, head to the west to purify himself. Ergo, beat up Soulage. After he leaves, the Master re-enters the world to find the demonic blade as well. Around the same time, Xianghua, who's now a member of the Ming Emperor's Royal Guard, is sent to search for Soulage, because the man is pissed that no one has found it yet. However, before she leaves, her best friend Mei Mei asks her to find her brother Li Long and see if he's okay. Back to Keelik, he eventually arrives at a port in India where he meets the pirate Kiam. He tells him about his quest, and Kiam says that they're headed west too, so they're down to bring him along. He just needs to have a word with Maxi first, who's currently out partying.
That's all.
While they wait for him to return, Astaroth comes out of fucking nowhere and leads an ambush on the ship. The goat Maxi rushes in just in time to help, but once Astaroth peeps he's outmatched, he delivers a critical blow to Kiam and slaps the Devapara Yuga off Keelik. Our hero goes berserk again, and the golem uses this chance to escape. Thankfully, Maxi is a goddamn problem with them nunchucks, so he's able to hold him off until he can get the mirror back on him. But this is still a win for Astaroth. The battle killed everyone in the crew, and Kiam is knocking on death's door. With his last breath, he tells his brother about Keelik's quest and asks him to help. Maxi accepts, and together with his new ally, they head west. Xianghua joins them on the way, bringing the three treasures together for the first time in centuries.
The three sacred treasures, you say? Where have I seen this before?
Elsewhere, the stage for the final battle is being set in Germany. Nightmare and his cohorts gather in Ostrheinsberg Castle, but Ivy's getting cold feet. She's watched Nightmare, Aeon, and Astaroth murder countless people, and knows they're plotting something evil, so she leaves the group, but she's stopped by Astaroth.
Okay. I don't know what you were doing there in the first place. What was the plan? I thought, maybe we were just doing a bit of a misdirect and she was working with them in order to kind of like get closer to the blade to not arouse any suspicion and then strike when the moment is right. But no, we're just here.
She states that she'll no longer be part of their antics, and she plans on finding Soulage on her own. But the golem's like,
"Are you dumb? Nightmare's been carrying Soulage this whole time."
This breaks something within her.
What?
If Nightmare is Soulage's wielder, then that means her Ivy Blade was made using its power. Astaroth uses this moment to attack her, but before their fight can go on, he sends his Maxi, Keelik, and Xianghua raiding the castle. So he leaves her with a small army of golems to deal with. After taking them out, she's stopped by Taki of all people. The ninja confirms that her blade was indeed powered by Soulage, but she also reveals that her father is none other than Cervantes de Leon, the previous owner of Soulage. That's right, folks. Ivy is the baby that came from that one-night stand all the—
Oh, shit, I should have known. I should have guessed. Ooh, damn. So she's tied directly to the Soul Edge. That's a really cool reveal,
way
actually.
back in 1558. With that, Taki leaves Homegirl to mull over this new info. Meanwhile, Astaroth confronts our three heroes before they get to Nightmare. But Maxi wants his revenge, so he holds the golem back while Xianghua and Keelik head for Nightmare. Of course, Maxi takes a W because he's fucking Maxi, but the battle leaves him in critical condition. And to make matters worse, Ares gets so pissed at his golem's loss that he commands the earth beneath Maxi to swallow him up. So power scalers, all that, you heard it here first. Maxi's so much of a problem, the god of war himself had to take care of him.
Like literally. I didn't know that the gods had such a direct role in the lore for Soulcalibur. I guess they're just here and like people know of them and they can do things, but I wonder like to what extent. Probably to the extent of whatever the story needs them to do.
Don't worry though, he's not dead. We'll talk about what happens to him in the next video. As for Kilik and Xianghua, the former confronts Nightmare, and even though the Azure Knight manages to shatter his Dvapara Yuga, Kilik keeps the evil in check to get the win. But upon his defeat, they're dragged into Astral Chaos to face Inferno. This realm serves as the home of the entity and the many souls he's eaten. Kilik is too tired to fight the Blade's true form, so it's up to Xianghua. This is when her mother's keepsake morphs into the spirit sword Soulcalibur. With it, she defeats Inferno, the shattering soul edge. But this low-key makes things...
I mean, we kind of saw this one coming. I mean, she was the one carrying the Soulcalibur this entire time after all. She just didn't realize it.
...things worse because shards of the blade end up scattering all over the world. And to add on to the bad news, Homegirl had to leave her sword in order to help Kilik out of Astral Chaos. So now we have no Soulcalibur and Soul Edge is still alive. Weak, but alive. What does this mean for the world? What does this mean for the rest of the roster who are still searching for the blade? Find out all that and more in the next video where I plan to cover the plots of Soulcalibur 2 to 4. For now, that is merely the beginning of the Soulcalibur timeline.
All right.
What's going on, folks? We made it. We did it. Another lore video completed. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming all the way to the end. Really appreciate you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment what else you'd like to see me cover in future episodes of Honest Gaming History. Hit that bell to stay notified of whenever I upload content. You could expect to see pretty much all video game lore essays on here and things within that nature. So yeah, if you want to stay notified of whenever I upload a new lore essay, hit that bell. Huge shout out to all my amazing guildmates who support me every month with their kind donations. For those who don't know, on the guild, members can gain access to early viewings of Honest Gaming History, uncensored webtoon reactions, exclusive comic book reads. Like I told you before, I'm reading Absolute Batman. I plan to read Absolute Flash if I haven't already started it by the time this video comes out. Radiant Black is also on my list, but yeah, it's fun over there. I'm adding more content on there and it's really fulfilling. So if you want some exclusive content in exchange for supporting the channel, check out the site, dojiverse.com. But with that being said, once again, thank you so much for watching. Be easy, stay lit, stay healthy out there, you look good, and don't forget to smile today. Peace out, fam.
All right, dudes. I didn't know what to expect going into this, but this was so much fun. I'm really glad that they don't do the whole like separate timelines story for all the characters and it's all just one interconnected story with all these characters that will somehow cross over with each other. And like the backstory behind a lot of them and all the lines that connect each other, it's just so fascinating to me. I'm so glad that this is the way the story is told for Soulcalibur. And there's something about it being tied to real world historical events that makes it kind of special to me. I can't really describe why. It almost feels like it's more engaging, more immersive in a weird way. Yeah, I don't have the right words for it. All I can say is that it just makes me really appreciate the series a whole lot more, and I'm super looking forward to what Soulcalibur 2 and 3 have to offer. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed your time here. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.